to this computer. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Trans Table Talk. This is episode 7, and today we are going to be talking about HIV impacting the trans community with our special guest today, Niambi Stanley. Now, before we get to our special guest today, I do just want to put out this disclaimer. So this is going to be a pre-recorded video, a pre-recorded conversation. On Tuesday, September 22nd, I will be undergoing my breast augmentation surgery here in Atlanta. And so because I'll be healing and resting from that, I won't be able to do this live on Thursday. So this video is pre-recorded and you guys will be able to watch it. You guys will be able to comment. We can always come back and look at the comments and answer questions. But this time it's just for you to listen and learn and just make comments as you go. And again, like I said, if you do have questions, you can always ask them and we can come back to answer. Now, again, this is episode number 7. Last week we did episode number 6, which we talked about the being trans women of color in the TV and film industry with Nicole Sky. And again, this week we're going to be talking about HIV impacting the trans community with Niambi Stanley. Now, you guys, as you know, this platform is on NASM Incorporated's platform. NASM has been serving the LGBT+Q community for the last 30 years. And just to speak about a couple of programs that we are currently offering, or that we offer in general, but that we're currently really pushing and promoting. We have our Ryan White program. Ryan White is specifically for people living with HIV. In that program, we have behavioral health and substance abuse counseling. We have food and transportation vouchers. If you are looking for any of those offerings from our Ryan White program, please give this number a call, 770-837-1470. Again, that is 770-837-1470. And also, again, for the food and transportation vouchers as well. Also, just a quick input in there. One of our clinicians, Dr. Curry, he is also licensed to do mental health evaluations for people of trans experience. So like if we need our evaluation letters for surgeries or governmental name changes and gender marker changes, he is the person to do that at NASM. And these services are also free, just to put that out there as well. Now our testing and outreach department here at NASM, we are currently doing testing, specifically HIV testing only at this moment. And that is by appointment only due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So that number to schedule an appointment is 407-661-4667. Again, 407-661-4667. Now, as you guys know, Trans Table Talk is just really to amplify the voices of those from the trans community and those directly tied to the trans community. Be that people that are gender nonconforming, be that, you know, a mother of a trans child, a lover of a trans person, or even an ally, because I've had allies on here before as well to speak about their experience and their allyship within the trans community. And I, of course, am your host, Tony Bryce. I'm, actress, a creative, and all of that good stuff. And then this week, specifically, we've been doing NASM HIV Awareness Week. So in conjunction with that, to help promote that, of course, our episode today, again, is going to be about HIV impacting the trans community. Now, our special guest today, she is a ballroom icon and historian. She's an entrepreneur. She's a trans activist, and she's a mental wellness advocate. Everybody, please welcome Niambi Stanley.
Hey,
Hi,
everybody.
Niambi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. The universe has been great to me so far. So
the universe is,
girl, I love you, by the way.
Thank you.
I love you.
I really do want to say this before we start. Everybody watching. So my and we'll get to ballroom later, but my journey into ballroom started like 2008, 2009. And I used to Google, my favorite era to Google was the 90s. Because it started with phase, and then I got into performance. Well, performance was initially that drew me to it, and then I got into phase and all that good stuff. But you are definitely one of the icons in our scene that I came across. So I have been knowing about you for a long time, at least the past decade. And so for me to be able to get to like see all of y'all, like I told you, like Shay Shay and Temperance, even Dee Dee, like to see, and Sasha, like to see these people on your screens for so long, and then to now be able to work with them, for me, it's like, and like people be thinking like, oh, Tony, you've been on P Valley, and that's great at all of the things. Thank you. But I'm like that when it comes to y'all, because I just feel like I've been watching y'all for so long. And so to be in this space, to be able to do things like this and have these kind of conversations is amazing. And so I just want to say thank you for being open and transparent enough to be able to come on this platform and speak so freely about everything we're going to cover today. So I just want to at least get out the way and say thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Tony, and shout outs to Nasim too, and to you for having me. I believe the conversations that we are about to have right now are very, 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 very important. Yeah. And thank you for for your platform, and using your platform, because we have all there. I just want to say that a lot of us come into the scene, and then once we get out of our struggle and get to the next level, we forget to pull each other up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like you forget about all of the struggles that you had coming up. I mean, I understand you don't want to focus on the past, but try to pull someone else along. You know what I mean? It's all about paying it forward, and you have done that with your platform. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate all of the encouragement and motivation, because it really does keep me motivated to move forward. But in light of moving forward, you ready, Niambi?
we had a little prep talk behind the scenes. Yes. So I'm ready. My nerves are good. I'm good.
Perfect. So first of all, everybody watching, let's just give a quick moment for Niambi's shirt, which says Black Trans Lives Matter, period, because they do. Period. Yes, they absolutely do. So as I was saying in the introduction, episode 7 today is about HIV impacting the trans community. So we're just going to get started off speaking about HIV. So when did you learn about HIV? Because I do know you are a person that have, like I said, lived through a lot of decades. Let's not say it like that.
I'm a dinosaur.
But you have been somebody that has been in the obviously before the 90s, but the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, child, we about to move into we're moving into the 2020s now. So
baby.
So at what point, I guess as a younger person, did you learn about HIV?
Okay, well, I entered the scene in 1992, believe it or not. It seems like I've been around forever. I've seen a lot of things, and seen a lot of people come and go, and shout out to Pose. I see shows like Pose and stuff like that actually, show, a little bit from a ballroom perspective what we've been through. Again, like you said, we're going to get to ballroom later. But for a lot of trans people, that was our only avenue to get to our transition. You know what I mean? There was no other way. You know what I mean? You couldn't be stealth. You know what I mean? You had to go, like, it was way more unified than it was now. So it was the scene, and that was it. And the scene consisted of ballroom. You know what I mean? And that was the only way to fulfill your dreams and your transitions, and, your transition and all of that. You know what I mean? So when I really, really knew what HIV was, I would say it wasn't until maybe 3 or 4 years after I entered the scene, which was probably 95, 96. Okay. And then it was like you were, around 95, it was, they were just people dropping left and right. You would see them dancing in the club, you know what I'm saying, 1 week, and then the next week they would be there. It wasn't until 1996 that they came up with the what they used to call the cocktail, you had to take all these medicines together, and it prolonged life a little bit, but it really, really, really wasn't effective, because people were still dropping like flies. And so many, I often think about, like, so many people that I've lost, like, mothers and sisters and friends, to something that could not be controlled at the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was when my true wake up call came, was when my gay mother passed away.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of '95. And I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it. So it left me navigating, kind of like navigating through the scene to try to help to fill that void, because I came out when I was what? I realized I wanted to transition at 14, and
Mm-hmm.
my family wasn't having it.
Right.
So, I was, after my gay mother passed away, I was constantly searching the scene for that void, to fill that void, that motherly void that I could, that I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
get it. But yeah, around 95, 96, I realized what HIV was, and how it really had an effect.
Right. So, well, my
Yeah.
next question was at what point or moment did you realize that it was real for you and those around you? And from what I just heard, it sounds like when your mother, your chosen mother, had passed away.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Tanya, shout out to Tanya. I think, she's around me all the time, and everything that I do and how I approach things and situations, she's there.
Yeah.
So,
Period.
yeah.
Well, shout out to
Yep.
Tanya for raising Niambi,
Yeah.
for giving us Niambi. So,
Yeah.
what is your personal connection to HIV?
Well, um, okay. It's so crazy because we keep avoiding ballroom, and then all of my situations have to do with ballroom,
Bar-
so it brings me back to it. Um, I was at a ball in 2012, at the end of July 2012, and um I wrote down with my house members. Everything was like really fine. I felt good. Everything was fine. You had that, that excitement before you walk a ball. You know what I mean? The anticipation and all of that. So we get to the ball and everything, and my whole thing is, a lot of people used to look at, believe it or not, a lot of people used to look at me in the scene as an underdog. Used to look down at me because you had to have a certain type of aesthetic in ballroom.
Mhm,
I couldn't afford that type of aesthetic in ballroom.
mhm.
So, you know what I mean? I got berated and teased and all of that going up in ballroom until, I found, really honed in on my talent and, excuse me, sorry.
No, you're fine.
This makeup, you know what I'm saying?
Li-
We talking
I'm the
about
same
this.
way. I done already did one of these because my nose trying to run. Y'all, if you wear makeup, you understand. I think I'm allergic to something in mine, but it's all good. You're fine.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So we get to the ball and everything, and I had asked them to change the music. And they were like, "Oh, well, if you can perform to anything." Well, to make a long, well, the long story short, because I had a manic episode, which I talk about in mental health a lot through
Mhm,
um, my bipolar one, which was undiagnosed at the time,
mhm.
So I started like showing out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, oh, you Emma Evans eggs are gonna burn and all of this stuff. Like they had me escorted out and everything. Now, when I got home, I slept for like 16 hours straight. I was so like my energy was depleted. I felt so tired. And I was on the phone with my best friend, one of my best friends. And
Mhm.
she noticed that I wasn't talking like coherent, like I wasn't coherent. So she was like, Niambi, I want you to call an ambulance. And I don't know what in me was like, okay, like I just went along with her, I guess because I trusted her.
Yeah.
And I called the ambulance, and it was then that I found out. But at that particular moment, I was like in another, like I was focused on bipolar over here. Meanwhile, they test me for HIV and I come up positive. So that was August 1st of
Oh,
2012.
I was
Yeah.
listening to an interview you did with Courtney Balenciaga, and I
Yes.
remember you
Yes.
speaking
Shout out to
about
Courtney.
that
Yeah.
particular situation, but I never knew how that situation led to that. So that is
And
like,
that's what I'm saying. It tied in. Yeah.
wow. So you
Yeah.
went for something completely different and found out in that moment. Wow. Which was my next
Yeah.
question,
And,
which
and the
was,
thing about it is, most people. I'm sorry. Most people when they find out that they're positive, it becomes a thing to where they're very emotional. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? They really don't know what to handle it. Like for me, I just had a numb feeling. I just felt
Mm.
that the scene had already done way worse to me than that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was so crazy. I didn't when the doctor told me, like my mother was there, and when the doctor told me, I was like, okay, moving on.
Yeah.
And because of the type of life that we live, I was so tired. I was
Yeah.
tired. I was tired at that point. And through all, and mind you, through all of the freaking stuff that I used to do between the relationships and the sex work and all of that, I knew in my heart that it was inevitable. But
Hmm.
up until that point, I had been negative. It
Yeah.
was when I decided to get in a committed relationship with somebody
Wow. Okay.
that so none of the sex work, none of the stuff that I did all the way since I was 14, 15 years old, never played a part in my diagnosis. But when I decided to love,
Mm.
that's what did it.
Ain't that
Girl,
something?
we gonna
That's deep.
way beyond this thing. I'm telling you.
That
Girl,
that is
yes.
deep. And for the people that's gonna be watching this, I feel like that is going to hit them so deep because that is deep. So when you received your diagnosis, like you were saying, you were just numb because you felt like the scene had done way
I
worse
was
to
just
you.
numb. I didn't feel anything. From what I remember, my mother was crying. They had
Hmm.
actually started me on mental health meds first
Okay.
to before like they started giving me HIV meds and everything. They got me on mental meds first. I think it was
Hmm.
like or some weird stuff, something like that. But they got me on mental health meds first to because mind you, oh let me say this too. When
Hmm.
he gave me the diagnosis, he was like, "Baby." He said it was something in my brain that created like a white spot in my brain. If I would have waited any longer, because at that point I was in full blown AIDS status.
Wow.
For people out there that know, like my T cell count was 195.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who Niambi?
Girl, we gonna get girl.
You are
Listen,
a walking just miracle testimony, all of that.
my viral load was 1 million. And I sit here to you today, 8 years later, undetectable.
Ooh, Niambi. I felt that in my spirit. You make me want. I ain't even a religious person, but you making me want to get up and shout. So since receiving your diagnosis about what now 8 years ago, like
Yeah.
how do you feel like realizing all of that where you were in that moment, having being diagnosed with full blown AIDS and your viral load and your T cell count? Like, how do you feel now, 8 years later, being undetectable?
It's so great because I really didn't truly appreciate like I mean I appreciate it and I think about it a lot, but I really didn't like really appreciate it and like really acknowledge where I was to where I
Mhm.
am now until this interview. Like I always appreciate it, but to the
Yeah.
acknowledgement of bitch, you were there and now you're here. So it's so
Ooh,
great.
you got chills going through my body because I am such a person at just being grateful and just saying how life can humble you. Baby, life can humble you. And
Okay.
that is amazing.
Yeah,
That is
girl. Like
amazing.
it's been a long road. It really has been a long road. But it for me, you know what I'm saying? It was worth it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was worth it, especially with all of the knowledge and the you know what I mean, the knowledge that I have now.
Hmm.
Like well-rounded knowledge. You know what
Right.
I mean about everything concerning our community. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because I feel I have to care about my community because there's not enough of us that do.
Right,
There's
right.
not enough of us to do, you
And that's
know?
why I love when you do your show, because you're just so open and transparent about everything, and you don't get that a lot of times. And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to Black women specifically of trans experience, I think a lot of people look at us for beauty and, oh, she got body, and then the hair and all of the extra stuff, but like they don't really, a lot of people don't take into account like that we deal with a lot of different just human things, because we are human at the end of the day. And so for
Yeah.
you to get on your camera and in front of your on your platform and just talk about it all, that is amazing. And we need that kind of representation as well. So I'm thankful to you for having your platform and speaking about it, because I watch you and I'm just
Thank
like,
you.
she just has so much bravery and courage to be able to talk about a lot of these things that I'm pretty sure really hard things to go through, and still have to talk about it
Oh,
now
yeah.
today. Very triggering too. So I'm in awe of you, because you're amazing. And I'm learning, even so far in this conversation, I am learning so much, because I didn't even know that. Like I said, I had knew about the
Yeah.
con ball situation, but I didn't know,
Yeah. Cowboy. Yeah.
how that was tied to your connection to my
Girl,
God.
it has been a lot, and from 14 years old, and you
Mhm.
already know about the statistics concerning our
Right.
life expectancy and all of
Yes.
these things now, and to be celebrating 42 this coming next Saturday, like, you know what I mean,
Next
like,
Saturday.
yes, next Saturday,
Yes,
super
that's a week away.
42
Happy
years old.
early birthday.
Yeah, so you know what I mean, Tony. It's really been a road, but you know what I mean. One thing, and to those trans women out there that um have a hard time with their families. You know what I mean? Have a hard time with their biological families. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Try to, like, we're in the age of social media. Try to, to network, and people who you feel close to. Keep a support around, but a support around you a lot of time for her.
Go.
Okay, yeah. So about the family, make sure you have a small support system, not a large support system of people, because let me tell you something, with my family, um, they weren't having it at first. But now I can't even go to the corner store without my mother asking, what you doing, where you going? She's calling me every day, she's
Right.
calling me for work and all of that. And the thing about it is, it needed time. And that's
Hmm.
what it was. And I want all of my young trans people to know, trans men, trans women, it's not you. It is not you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's their issue. It is
Right.
something that they have to deal with. Your identity is never up for question nor debate. Because
Right.
I
Period.
really feel passionate about this.
Me
Because you know what
too.
I mean? Like, because of a lot of times how we're perceived by people is from the years and decades and centuries of comedy on the expense of trans people. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And it's insane. That's why I appreciate what you do so much, Tony, because like you the way that you are portrayed is genius.
Oh,
Because let
thank
me tell
you.
you, baby, when you were behind them bars, bitch, I started crying because, bitch,
Mhm.
that was me. You know what I'm saying? That was me.
Yeah.
So,
And
girl.
honestly, what you're saying is very impactful, because, and I don't want to take too much time on this, because this is about you today. Um, but what I would say is, I think a lot of people, when they watched that scene, all they got was comedy. All they got was, "Hey girl, hey, told you I ain't had no," or,
Right.
"Hey, my mama did that to me too," or, "Maybe I am bad off over here." That's all that they got from that. And I was like, but what y'all are missing is that is a real life situation for a Black woman of trans experience to go to jail and be put in a cell with men. That is
I
real.
was
And
there.
then for her to be
It
moved
was
to the woman's cell, and for the first thing to come out of her mouth to say, "Told you I ain't had no," that tells me that she had to validate her womanhood right, her womanhood was validated by her genitals, or what her genitals were presenting at the time, and womanhood is not wrapped up in that. So it was a lot to unpack about that. So I'm
Yeah.
thankful that at least somebody from my own community seen that and they got that and it resonated with them. Because when I mean to tell you, I was upset about the response because everybody was just like, "Oh, you so funny, you were so comedy," and I was like, "But I didn't think I was funny. I didn't think none of that was funny when I was doing that." And I can
And
see
it's
how
not
some of it
funny.
may have come out funny now, but some of that, no, no. But like I
Because
said, this is about you today.
no, but baby, let me tell you, let me tell them something. Um, yeah, it's all fun and games, honey, until you're the one in that dark room with an officer, honey, laughing and gawking at your genitals when you have to
Right,
squat, pause, and all
right,
these humiliating things that they make trans people do. You know what I mean? When entering the justice system, you know what
right.
I mean? They're supposed to be there for justice. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? It's disgusting. And then they try to give you this thing where, oh, we're putting you over here for your protection, but you're
Right,
placing me in the vicinity of the same men that are raping me and bringing violence towards me.
right.
Where's the protection and security in that,
Speak on it.
girl? And I went through it. I've been through that. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's and it is. I'm just so glad, like, honey, baby. My last trip there was 14 months, and
Hmm.
it was a nightmare. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah, I had to make do with I had to make do with the surroundings that I was in.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But no, jail is not a place, bitch, when you want to go freaking take a shower and can't, especially for trans people. Bitch, I was
Right.
locked in the cell for 23, bitch, it was solitary confinement. Why
Oh,
am I in solitary confinement, bitch, if I did nothing wrong?
right. Exactly.
Except exist.
My God. I'm
So
glad
yeah,
to know
that's
that
like I'm
about
telling
you
you,
too.
it's about for me too.
No, I'm glad to know that about you because I often get hit up about like those kind of panels too, and I'm just like, well, I don't have that experience, so I'm always y'all making giving me a seat at the table, but if it's not my experience, I want to give the seat to somebody else that actually have lived that and that can really pour into y'all and give you a real life firsthand perspective versus
Yeah,
me just giving perspectives of stories that I've been told. So thank you for
right.
letting me know that because when next time I know somebody approach me, Niambi, what you doing on this day? They got a piano.
Girl, I'm there.
Now,
I'm
okay,
there because
so
a lot of them do really need a wake up call. And I think if
yeah,
enough wake up calls are given out, that will bring us together as a community. Because the most important thing that a lot of people in our community that are outside our community don't realize
right,
is that the identification aspect.
right,
Let me know how it is to walk in your shoes. Not enough
right,
of us are doing that. So that's why they disrespect the journey because they
right.
don't know. You know what I mean? So, girl,
Baby, it's never I said when I mean to tell you our experiences is just so it intersects so many different things, and we can go on about that for eons and eons because it's just so many
forever.
things to talk about. Now, what I want to talk about next, I kind of broke these up in two different topics, but I kind of sometimes think because we're going to talk about homelessness and then survival sex work, and I think because of
Yeah,
homelessness, survival sex work is the resolution or solution sometimes to that to
right.
survive. So I'm going to just kind of intertwine them. And so where let me see, were you ever homeless?
Um, hmm. See, it's kind of crazy because
Mm,
really, I never really thought that I was ever homeless. Being as though that
mm,
I was put because mind you, here's another two topics that tie in together.
mm,
Um, I was taught by my gay mother about sex work at a very, very, very young age.
mm,
So as far as homelessness goes, I've never really, yeah, I mean, I wasn't living in a home, so technically I was homeless. But
right,
to be out on the street, she taught me early, you get your coin, you get your room, like it was a whole thing. So,
right.
I would say that, yeah, my homes were like hotels across
And
America.
and
um,
honestly, I tell people all the time, like I went through a period of like homelessness but I wasn't shelterless. Right. So I
Right,
had somewhere to
right,
lay my head. I had some four walls to be confined in
right,
as a form of protection from the world, as
right,
opposed to being out on the streets. So did I have a
right.
place to call my home? No, but I did
No,
have some kind of shelter. And like you say, your sheltering during that period were hotels because
right.
you were taught at that time in order to survive so you don't end up out on those
Yeah,
streets, you
right,
it's survival
exactly.
sex
Like
work. Yep.
if you don't get out there and do what you have to do to get your coin, you'll go hungry. You won't have anywhere to be.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And she sat down and explained that to me. And another thing she also sat down and explained to me was how I live my life because I was pre-transition when I met her. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And she sat down and actually she actually sat down and explained to me the difference between what they call a ballroom femme queen or trans woman or or drag, you know what I mean? And she explained that to me. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I knew, and she was like, and if you decide to be a trans woman, start your hormones early. Like she gave me that prep talk, and I think that that was why she was put in my life for the short time that she
Hmm.
was to get me on to my
Right.
transition.
Well, and shout out to our chosen mothers. I've
Yeah,
personally never had one, but for those people that have had a chosen mother, I just honor and respect to those women because they were your mother. And, at that time when your bio parents or bio family didn't understand you, you had that chosen family, that chosen mother, chosen father, and sisters, brothers, all of the things, aunties, uncles.
right.
That kind of led you and guided you during that time frame. So I think it's dope. For me, when I first became aware, not aware, but when I first really, because I was a virgin for up until 26, up until I was 26. So I didn't experience
Uh-huh.
sex. I just kind of dealt with a lot of, body issues and stuff because I knew who I was. I just wasn't prepared to get to that journey until later in life. But I remember watching Luna Khan, Icon Luna Khan.
Right.
And I used to really get into him, and he used to have his Luna show. He used to have the people come up there, and then I used to
Yeah,
get into his advocacy and activism in the
yeah,
'90s, where he was on MTV and he used to go out into the community and have those kind of talks. And so,
right.
because and during my time in college, that's kind of what I did during college. Like we never,
Oh,
as the
nice.
Black community, we didn't have testing coming to college. We weren't
Right,
having sex education talks. None of that was happening. And when I got there, I was like, well, that's something that I want to do. And so I
right,
was able to bring, AIDS Project of the Ozarks to our college campus to test every December 1st, World AIDS Day, and every once I
yeah,
was acknowledged or once I came into knowledge of Black HIV AIDS Awareness Day on February 7th. And then we would
right.
have sex talks. And so when I seen him doing what he was doing for the community back then and present day at that time, I was like, that really resonated with me and what I was trying to do. And so he did become my chosen father at the time. Well, I was his chosen daughter because we chose each other at that moment. And that was
Yeah.
my entry into ballroom and House of Legacy and all that good stuff. But so I say all of that to say the parents of it all, you how you reach or how you choose them is probably a different experience, but shout out to the parents because they really are, well, positive thinking. They really are the ones that really show us the way and inspire us to be who we
Yeah.
are today, and all of that good stuff. Now, as it relates to like homelessness or sheltered but homelessness
Yeah.
and survival sex work, how do you feel like, because I remember you saying earlier you thought being diagnosed with HIV was inevitable during those times because of what you were doing. So at
Right.
that time, how were those experiences? Was there protection being used? Was there ever conversations about that during those times, or was it just survival and
Um,
it wasn't talked about?
it became a thing in its beginnings. Like for me, as a person who's always looking for love, not even necessarily a relationship, but just
Hmm.
someone to love me, because the people that were supposed to initially love me, that were put on this earth to love me, didn't.
Right.
I had to go, you know what I mean? I had to find it, whether it was, at the time, whether, it was a man. A lot of times, in my relationships, oh no, never. No, protection was never used ever in a relationship,
Hmm.
because as a young child, which should have never been in a fucking relationship anyway,
Right.
I'm thinking I'm thinking, oh, I love him, he loves me, and we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and fairy tales and pixie dust and unicorns and stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And as we mature and as we get older, we learn that the world is not that
Right.
way. And people are not that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like in my relationships, it was never, it was never used. And these were guys that would allow me to just go out here and do survival sex work with men and benefit off of it. Hell,
Yeah.
everybody around me benefited off of it because I was that type of person. You know
Right.
what I mean? All of my friends were my friends. I mean, except for I can actually count two friends back then were actually my friends. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
else, oh, she's gonna pay her way in the club and do this and then that, paying for balls, da, 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 da. Because I was that type of person. Did I try to like buy friendship? I don't know if I would have even, thought that I was doing that, but
Mm-hmm.
at that time, because I was so young, but if I'm having a good time, I wanted everybody to have a good time.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's I don't know. But yeah, these relationships, it was just me just, looking and searching for love. And then when I got tired of the relationships, then work, my sex work that I was doing became my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I would say about 80% of the time, I would say 80 to 85% of the time, everything was protected. That
Yeah.
15% would be with someone that that I know, that I felt I knew. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? We had been seeing each other for like, for like ever. Like there were people that
Right.
I was seeing for like 15 years, 20 years. You know what I mean? So it was like a more of a relationship. It was a relationship, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, it was a paying relationship, but it was a relationship.
Come on,
It was a
painfully.
relationship nonetheless. But you know, I'm kind of glad that for the most part, that is behind me. Due to the guesswork and it's just a lot that we deal with. It's just
Mm-hmm.
and just to survive, just to make it to the next day, is
Right.
is is
Right.
is crap for us. You know what I mean? Not only dealing with all of that stuff that we have to deal with, but dealing with people that are outside of our community, i.e. the hetero community, and having to deal with that, just living day by day, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then have to deal with our emotions and our feelings about shit at night,
Right.
you know?
That's
Um,
when it all hits you at night,
yeah,
huh?
baby,
Baby, when you
don't
laying down in that
ever,
bed by yourself.
like, damn.
Okay. Now to wrap up that particular topic, because the next topic to end it all, and before we go to all things Niambi,
Yeah.
what would you say? What would be your advice to some, specifically a Black woman of trans experience that is currently experiencing homelessness and because of that doing survival sex work? Like, what would be your advice to them as it relates to obviously we live in a world where sex work is very real. It's very valid because people have to survive. And if these people are not going to give us opportunities to work these, what I call tax income jobs, then we got to live, we got to make it. And so what would be your advice to them, while they're out here surviving? And and as it relates to HIV?
Okay, well, baby, let me tell you something. I know a lot of y'all thought that Auntie Niambi was going to get on here and be like, no, don't you do that. You're not allowed to do that. And looking down on y'all and doing all the things. Let me tell you something. If you're going to do something, just make sure you're safe and do it
Yes.
and be safe about yourself and your well-being. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? If you're going to do it. I'm not condoning sex work, but I'm not criminalizing it either.
Right.
Because
Right.
everybody has to do what they have to do to get by, and that is that. You know what I mean? Do I have for the most part of going out there and strange cars and all of that? Yeah, that part is behind me. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want to make money off of any type of business, treat
Right.
it as a business.
As a business. Correct. Yep.
treat it as a business. You know what I mean? Not always trying to get ahead or get an edge off of somebody or trying to
Mm-mm.
get over. That's not what a businesswoman is or businessman is.
Right.
You know what I mean? As long as you stay with integrity, you could do any type of job that you want. Keep your integrity.
Right.
Be honest in whatever it is that you're doing. Fair exchange, no robbery. That is how you get, to the next level, and you're not under the radar,
Mm-hmm.
with certain things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, especially in the times that we're in now. You know
Right.
what I mean? Tons of people losing their jobs. You don't think that there's people, honey, that started off at Wall Street, honey, and is now at the I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
No,
you know,
and I'm with you. Like it is a business, and at the end of the day, there's many businesses that require the usage of your body. Modeling is the usage of your body. Public speaking is the
come
usage of
on.
your body, your voice. Like there's many businesses
Yeah,
that require the usage of your body, but the key is that it's a business. So you have to treat it like a business. And I feel like whenever I have friends that are
exactly.
participating in sex work, and I check on them and make sure they're okay, while they're out traveling and doing the things that they do.
Right,
And
right.
I'm just like, are you getting your coin? You making sure you do the right things. Because even though I have never went down the path of sex where I will never judge anybody that has, because
Right,
it's about survival. I've been privileged enough to not have to take that path because of the cards I was dealt in life. So I didn't have to
right,
necessarily take that path to survive. If I would have did it, it would have just been to, well, child, it's a means to an end. At this point, I want to do it to get my work done or whatever, but it wouldn't have been for survival. And so
right.
I always encourage them to make sure you're doing the right things, girl. If it's a business, make sure it's a business and do it the right way. Do it right.
It's the right
Don't be
way.
out here being
Because it makes
foolish
no
and putting your
sense.
life in jeopardy.
Yeah, because it makes no sense, honey. You're, you
Right.
know, you're being criminalized for something over here, honey. In the West, bitch, it's legal as long as you have a license. Like
Right.
it's not. You know what I mean? It's not criminalized everywhere. You know
Right.
what I mean? So how can you call something illegal if it's not criminalized everywhere?
Right.
So my whole thing is that whatever protection.
Protection. Right.
Because let me tell you something, baby, I'd have been on.
Right.
Stop. I've been, okay, survival sex work, bitch, fraud, craft, jail, bitch, HIV, bitch. Listen, my life is full, okay, over here.
Right.
Yeah,
A
my
full
life is
life,
full.
many of experiences.
Ballroom, bitch.
Right.
My life is full. So you don't want these types of problems over here because they create
Right.
mental illness, the whole thing. Like you don't want these problems over here. And I thank my doctors, that
Mhm.
helped me with HIV, my therapist that I went to for 3 years. I mean, I
Right.
stopped going because we don't have nothing in common. He told me how to be a black trans woman, so I got this from here. But
Mhm.
he helped me get over a lot of the animosity that I had towards different people and different things in my life. So
Right.
it was that, I got that off of me, and then I was able to move on. But yeah, you don't want these types of problems. And for people to answer your question, for people out there, honey, that may be struggling with homelessness, listen, baby. I know, we're living in the age of technology.
Mhm.
Okay. However you make your money or whatever it is, baby, get yourself a little phone. Once you have your phone, you're good. Okay. Get on that phone. McDonald's has free Wi-Fi. Walmart has free Wi-Fi. Go over there and get online and find out what organizations will help you in your
Yeah.
area. You only have to take one step. That's the only step that you got to
Yeah.
take. And you keep calling until somebody can help you.
Period. That's some really good advice. Keep pushing. You gotta keep pushing.
Keep pushing.
You gotta keep
Keep
pushing.
pushing.
Baby,
Yep.
y'all heard the icon. Keep pushing. Now, speaking of icon, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about our third and final topic before, again, we get to all things Niambi. Ballroom.
Yes.
I love ballroom, but ballroom has
Oh,
been many things to us. So
many, many, many things.
my first question when it comes to ballroom, because I know you talk about ballroom a lot, and we kind of covered some at the beginning. We covered about how you were introduced to
Yes.
ballroom, but what I would ask is how did ballroom impact you as a Black woman of trans experience and as a person living with HIV? And I know you kind of spoke on the situation at the con ball specifically and how
Yes.
connection and how you learned of your diagnosis. But
Yes.
how has the experience been? I guess maybe beforehand or since then. Do you feel like ballroom is a healthy space for people living with HIV or for Black women of trans experience? Because I do know a lot of times we experience a lot of toxic language. There's a lot of name calling and things that are being said that's really just triggering and nasty when we call people, or when they, whoever do it, because not we, because I don't do that, but when they call people sick. And like, how do you feel
Right.
like ballroom has been to you being a person, again, of trans experience and then also a person living with HIV?
Okay. Well, I was silent for a very long time.
Mm,
Well, first of all, I was basically, like I said before, I was basically negative all the way up until 2012. So I
right,
had already achieved by 2012. I had already achieved a name, and ballroom had already got called
right.
out legendary. I came out with an era of folks that, number one, they held trans women up on a pedestal when I entered the scene.
Yeah.
When I entered the scene, I was seeing the likes of Octavia and
Mm,
Letitia. Shout out to y'all. Alyssa. You know what I mean? Sanaya was basically my age, but she had a bigger name than me
right,
at that time. Ashley. You know what I mean? Mosavia. All these people. You know what I mean? So, and they were revered, honey, like
right.
queens. You know what
Mm.
I mean? So that is what when I see what ballroom is today, I'm like, bitch, what happened?
What
You know what I mean?
happened, right?
Especially like a lot of the stuff and a lot of the interactions that a lot of the gay men and trans women would have negatively towards us, even our own. I'm all about accountability, even our own.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yes.
our own would have towards trans women and the trans experience, it's disgusting now. It's
Hmm.
disgusting now because I know what it was. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And it was kind of like a downhill slope. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because and the thing about it is the gay men started taking over ballroom.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And there was a lot of disrespect. It was a lot of disrespect, and a lot of trans women is like, well, bitch, we're we're more a lot like it's supposed to be extracurricular. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So a lot of times, a girl or a woman would get a certain type of age and be like, listen, I'm not for this anymore. I'm going to concentrate on my livelihood and my transition. You know
Right.
what I mean? But then, if they decide to, peek out and surprise everybody, bitch, there's no respect there. Who is this and who was that? And they were looking you up and down, and it's all types of disrespect. This is why trans women leave the scene.
Hmm.
This is why trans women leave the scene. You got all these people talking about, oh, my fave, this, I live for her, this. Do you really?
Right.
No, you don't. You know what I mean? Because as soon as somebody pisses you off, bitch, here comes the man, here comes your
Right.
man, and all this stuff. You know what
Don't
I'm
forget how
saying?
you were born and da 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 and da da da.
Right, right. And we should not be hearing these types of things in our community.
Mm-mm.
Period. Period. Just like a lot of these gay men out here don't like to be called all types of fairies, and I'm not going to even use the negative terms and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, y'all don't know. No one likes, vulgarities. No one likes
Right.
it. So why are you giving that?
Right.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, respect this person how you want to be respected. You know what I mean? But I came out in the scene in '92, and started getting hot around '96, and then became legendary in 2000. And then, but I never really had that gut wrenching type of disrespect in ballroom.
Yeah.
I've never had to personally deal with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Until now.
Right.
Until like this, like I would say maybe after about 2013, 14, maybe.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I started seeing it not just with me, but for other, you know, elders in our scene, bitch, that were actually there and saw these things. It's just the amount of disrespect, not for just for trans women, but for elders in our scene. You know what I mean? For like, everything.
Right.
It's just, I don't know.
My
I don't know. I try to keep my auntie stuff to myself, child.
my thing with ballroom is Luna told me a long time ago, he was like, Tony, you're not ballroom. And I didn't understand that at the time. At the time, I kind of took offense to it. I was like, what you mean? I'm not, like, what you trying to say? Like, what? But now, being an adult versus a kid at the time, I get it. And I think it's because a lot of times when it comes to ballroom, people feel like this is a space where people can do and say whatever they want to say. And for
Yeah.
me, it's still to me, I feel like we as LGBTQ plus people, we still hold a responsibility in how we respect each other, how we treat each other, and because of how we interact with each other. Not that it can influence how everyone else interacts with us, but at the same time, I'm so not concerned with the rest of the world when it comes to us. I feel like we have to take care of the us first, right? We have to figure out something that's going to allow us to coexist and live in some kind of peace and harmony, even if we agree to disagree with whatever it is. But a lot of times it's very disrespectful. The language, I have a lot. I will never walk realness again. But like, how people talk about realness when they want to decipher between a trans woman and a cis woman. Oh, that's a real girl. Oh, that's a real woman or a regular woman. And for me, how I look at that is none of us were born men and women. We just were not. We were born male, female, intersex. That's what the doctor assigned us at birth based on biology and science. And that's just what it is. Manhood and womanhood is something that we develop into. And to me, it's not a birthright. It's something that we develop into. So for me, for somebody to say, oh, that's a real woman, or that's girl, excuse me, girl, she developed into her woman like I did. Her experiences are different, but we had to develop into this. So it's so many problematic toxic things that I just be like.
Listen, I'm the one. I'm the one that gets with them and be like, well, what makes you real? What makes you real? What makes you a real woman? Don't say, and the thing about it is, don't say genitalia.
Right.
Something that can be paid for and acquired. You know what I mean? That's not what makes you real. That's not what makes you a real woman. The fact that you can have, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they started babies and all of that. Like, come on, like, I'm so sick of having this conversation with that, as far as them and competing and all that. There's no competition. Okay, we're both women. We're different types of women. Period.
Right.
Period. Like, I don't want to hear nothing else underneath that. Because they want to go back and forth with you, baby, and I don't have time. Honey, I got bipolar.
And that's too why I've adapted the saying I'm a Black woman of trans experience, because I want you to know that I'm a Black woman first. When you see me, you're going to see a Black woman. Yeah. And if you don't see trans or whatever seeing trans looks like, and I have to tell you or you find out later, that's secondary. But first, I am a Black woman at the end of the day. And I think that, like, promoting that particular verbiage lets people know, like, sis, we both sisters, we women at the end of the day. My experience with womanhood was that of a transition, and yours was that of developing and growing into it. So, but at the end of the day, it's still a development. It's a journey to get there. To me, it's not a birthright. But I say all that to say, ballroom, it just becomes so toxic with a lot of different things. Again, whether it's verbiage, whether it's the name calling, whether it's kind of bashing and making people who are living with HIV feel ashamed and like judged.
Yes, the stigma in the ballroom.
Stigma, yes. Stigma is horrible. Stigma is so horrible.
It's
chop the stigma. That's what we need to chop. We need to chop the stigma.
Right. Oh, that is a shirt, bitch. Chop the stigma.
Chop the stigma. That's what we need to do. Don't chop the girls. Chop the stigma.
Chop the stigma, girl. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. That's the perspective that I really wanted. Because, like I said, I know you talk about ballroom a lot in terms of your experiences and things growing up. I just wanted the people to get a different perspective of ballroom and other experiences, because, like, I know you are a ballroom icon and a historian. So now that we talked about that, we can move on to all things Niambi. And this is just about any past, present, or upcoming projects that you have and that you want to speak on and let the people know so they can follow you or follow whatever you got going on.
Well, I need the people to start writing this down because it's been 3 years, so a long 3 years. Well, 5 years ago, I'm celebrating 5 years of Learn Your History. That I showcase all of my ballroom history. It's on Facebook. Learn Your History. Learn Your History kind of started with me. Yeah, Learn Your History kind of started with me just giving shouts out on my regular profile, just showing people who people were room and just giving life to our community and just breathing life into our community with with accolades and applause, and especially a lot of people who might not get it, you know what I mean, normally from ballroom and deserve it. So I started cataloging ballroom history from I believe it was the 50s or 60s all the way up until now, and that can be found on learnyourhistory.net. LearnYourHistory.net.
LearnYourHistory.net, y'all. Y'all heard it.
Yes. Then I got into because this all started with my whole path to business started with this little motor club company that was a rival of AAA that I got into. But there were so many people saying, "Oh, it's this and it's this and it's that." But it really gave me the know-how and the education on what it is to own your own business. Yeah. So, I always hold that near and dear to my heart because without that, I wouldn't have any of the things that I had my hands in. So Learn Your History started, which is a nonprofit. Then I did the NBC spiritual readings. I'm a spiritualist, a numerologist, astrologist, and I also do tarot card readings under that brand. That is the NBCsreadings.com. Let's see, Trans Information, of course, home of Trans Talk Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 12:30. That can be found at facebook.com/transinformed. Let's see. Let me see what else. The Niambi Prodigy Television. It's terrible with me. The Niambi Prodigy Television. I program Amazon Fire Sticks for the people. And I feel like I'm missing one. I think that's it. I feel like I'm missing one though.
I mean, and as we introduce you again, she is a ballroom icon and historian. Yes. Hello. She is an entrepreneur. Hello. She is a trans activist. Hello. And she is a mental wellness advocate. And you talked about your own journey with that too, as well. So you are, Niambi, you are so dope. You really are.
Yes, I love you, Tony. We got so much.
I really do. And I appreciate you. I'm just grateful just to have that we have people like you that are just so open and honest and go beyond just the glitz and glam of everything because, I mean, it's cute. It's cute to be cute. Don't get me wrong. It's cute to be cute. But we go beyond. It's not just skin deep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All you trans people out there, all you trans people or gay men or whatever that are living with HIV, let me tell you something, baby. 8 years, okay? I stand before you since being diagnosed, okay? It will get better. Yes, you will go through it. If there is anybody out there that is having any type of problems dealing with your diagnosis, my inbox is open. I am always available to talk. Always. Unless I'm asleep, that's it. But because I think that it's important with through all of the stigma and everything that we see, we forget about the people who are stigmatized.
Right.
We forget about them, that they are actually dealing with, that they actually have, this is something that they deal with every single day.
Right.
So I need you to, just open up your heart and open up your mind and just know that I am available for you. for whatever it is that you want to talk about, from, between medications to how you stay safe, to relationships, whatever it is. You know what I mean? I'm available for you. So
Well, that's
that's all I'm
beautiful.
gonna say. That's
Well,
all
that's
because
beautiful. You're beautiful.
I love you, Tony.
Thank you. Okay, so before we leave,
Yeah,
and was that the last thing you wanted to say?
yeah. Go
Before we,
ahead, go.
okay. I just
Yeah,
wanted to
go.
give like a little quick story. So back in 2016, I've always wanted to be a Prodigy. After Legacy closed, I've always wanted to be a Prodigy. But here's the kicker. I had just started my transition. I was walking Realness at the time here in Atlanta, and I went to a ball and I seen CJ Prodigy. And I was
Yes.
like, and Roxy actually was on a panel that night. And I didn't realize she was a Prodigy. I was thinking like, last thing I had known from Roxy, she was an Ibisu. I was like, okay, Roxy, a
Right.
Prodigy. But I seen
Right.
CJ because he was running around the ball, and I had somehow got into contact with him. And CJ was working his butt off to get me into Prodigy. And it didn't happen.
Oh,
It didn't happen. And mind you, it was one ball where I was with the Prodigy. Chi Chi, the legendary Chi Chi, had came down. She had won
oh,
$2,500 that night. Chanting
yeah,
down. He had me chanting down PRO.
yeah.
And they gave, well, not at this time. I was like, oh no. I just say that
Oh,
because I always, anytime I talk to like CJ or any of them, I always just remember that time. But
I
I mean, I'm not
love
bitter,
it.
bitter about it or anything. But it's good to know that Prodigy is still a place where as I always say, that's about family, that's about people that are
Yeah,
entrepreneurs that are in the entertainment business, like
yeah,
Jason and
yes,
who else?
yeah. Shout out
It
to
was other
Jay.
people at the time that's probably not coming to mind now. But
Yeah.
I love Prodigy. I yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So shout out to
And
Prodigy.
we share another connection too. We share another
Really?
connection too. Luna. Luna. Yes. Luna. I rep Philadelphia, but I'm actually from Amish country, Lancaster, PA, which is like the middle of Lancaster.
Oh,
And Luna
okay.
is from here.
Really?
He is. I did too.
Oh. See, and you would have just thought you were from Philly and he was from New York,
And
but
he's
y'all
from
are
New York,
from
right? We're both from Lancaster.
wow.
Yeah.
Did y'all know oh, so y'all didn't know each other back then. You just learned that later on.
I learned that after Barbara, after that, that
That's
we're from the same
dope.
block. I still live here. But I've been back here 10 years now, honey. I
Oh,
love it.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, go
yeah. But
ahead, Luna.
Philadelphia, but and it's only an hour away, so
Oh, okay.
it's kind of like it's not that far away.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we share Luna too,
Shout out to Luna.
honey.
Well, Niambi, I just want to thank you again for agreeing to come on today to speak about your
No problem.
experience, to speak about, HIV impacting the trans community and how that personally connects with you. I've said it this whole time. I'm so appreciative of you that we have people like you a part of the community and that you are open and honest and transparent about all things Niambi. And so thank you for coming today.
I'm gagging that I got through that without crying. Like usually when I talk about that stuff, like I got through without crying. That just you are a wonderful interviewer. Like art,
Oh, thank you.
like the chill, like my arms, like I've got
Oh,
goosebumps. Right, I love
thank
you.
you.
I have a wonderful, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yes, we definitely can. I mean, because it like as we were talking, there's so many other things to cover. Like you and
Yeah.
the experience with prison, like that's a
Oh
whole
yes, baby.
conversation. So
Woo!
I definitely foresee it coming soon.
Yes, coming soon.
Well, thank you so much again. Thank you to everybody that watched. Again, today was a pre-recorded interview because I'm currently healing. But today was a pre-recorded interview. Y'all can still comment and ask questions, and we can come back to the video and we can come and talk to y'all through the comments. Thank you so much. Y'all go follow me,
Share
Niambi.
this video, get this video out there.
Yes,
It's
share this to every
educational, it's
group.
informative, it's Tony Bright.
Oh, and it's Niambi Stanley, also known as the icon Niambi Prodigy. But thank you again, Niambi. I appreciate you again. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you on the next episode.
Bye.